PWGI Climax. My botch.
Women? No one cares about women's wrestling, man.
Hey.
Listen up, wrestling fans.
That's right, listen up. This is Strong Honor here on the FansPodcast.com and part of the Fans Podcast family of podcasts. Check out all the other great podcasts here on the FansPodcast.com and also available on BestProWrestlingPodcast.com and anywhere you look for podcasts. Just look for either the Fans Podcast or Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. So enough of that. Let's get into all the stuff to talk about this week. So much going on. The G1 Climax is finally underway. We've only got one night to talk about so far, but it was a crazy night, a great night of wrestling, and we've got a preview the next week. Between now and when I record the next episode of Strong Honor, there are 5 nights of G1 Climax matches, events. 5 nights of events coming up in the next week or so. So we're going to preview all of that. But before I get into the New Japan and the G1 Climax and all of that going on, I thought we would talk about this week's Ring of Honor TV. And I want to talk about this Rev Pro show from, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, but it just became available last week on the Rev Pro streaming service. You can go to revolutionprowrestling.com, and you can find all the links to sign up there. I believe it's like $8.50 in the United States to sign up for their streaming service. Well worth it just for this show. The British J Cup. I want to talk about that show, everything that happened there. Some great matches featuring guys from New Japan, Ring of Honor, of course, British guys there from Rev Pro, Marty Scurll, Will Ospreay, all kinds of stars there. Awesome show. I want to talk about that. But let's start with Ring of Honor. Not a ton to talk about on this week's Ring of Honor TV, so we'll get through it pretty quickly, but a couple of advancements in storylines and some interesting moments along the way, too. This was the Cody Rhodes Championship celebration that he wanted to do a couple of weeks back, but Christopher Daniels interrupted it. Now that Ring of Honor is back on the East Coast and actually doing a Ring of Honor show, I should say Cody Rhodes is back in Ring of Honor, not in New Japan. The crowd was very much behind Cody Rhodes, very into the Bullet Club. Every time he brought up Christopher Daniels, the crowd booed. So it's a very interesting dynamic, being that when Cody Rhodes and the Bullet Club are on Ring of Honor, they tend to be cheered, even though they're still presented the same way, just like heels. But when on New Japan, they are definitely treated like heels. Certainly more so Cody and the Hangman Pages of the world, Gorillas of Destiny, whereas even in New Japan, Kenny Omega and the Elite, the Young Bucks, tend to be a little bit more over on the likable side of the ledger, if you will. But Cody celebrates. Like I said, the crowd was hot for him. He said that Christopher Daniels has a boo-boo face, and he lost his smile. He says the Ring of Honor title belongs to the Rhodes family. Interesting him saying the Rhodes family. I wonder if he can say it if he says Rhodes family and not the words Cody Rhodes together, which is why, like, when he did the TNA stuff, it was Cody and Brandy Rhodes, because obviously they don't own the name Brandy Rhodes. WWE does. So interesting him mentioning the Rhodes name there. He mentions that he's not under contract and that he wrestles everywhere every weekend, and that he proposes a 2 out of 3 falls rematch at the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So their next pay-per-view isn't actually until September 23rd, Death Before Dishonor, or September 22nd, I'm sorry, is Death Before Dishonor, the pay-per-view in Las Vegas. So, but they do have the upcoming UK tour, War of the Worlds. Maybe they'll do it somewhere in there. I think they do have a couple of pay-per-view deals, like a house show type of thing, so maybe they do it on one of those. But Cody proposing the 2 out of 3 falls rematch. He says he's steroid-free and full-time. They're kind of taking a dig, I suppose, at the WWE Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. Then we had a match between Punishment Martinez and Jonathan Gresham. Martinez gets the win here with the Psycho Driver. Gresham uses leverage and cunning to counter Martinez. A very unique knee hyperextension to gain advantage from Gresham in the match. Gresham hits a shooting star. Martinez kicks out, and then he goes right into an ankle lock. Gresham does. Martinez hits a last ride power bomb onto the apron. Gresham, right before, as he's up in the power bomb position, about to get power bombed on the apron, he's up there kind of saying his prayers and crossing his heart. Nevertheless, he hits the last ride power bomb on the apron. Martinez then hits the Psycho Driver back in the ring to get the win. And then after the match, he continues to attack Gresham, but then Jay White comes out and makes the save. And the whole thing between Jay White and Punishment Martinez has been going on for a few months now. But it will be Jay White taking on Kushida next week for the Ring of Honor TV title on TV. So that should be a very good match. Then they showed the Briscoes backstage after their Best in the World loss to Dalton Castle and the boys, and understandably, Mark, they're all very upset. There's an interviewer trying to interview Bully Ray, which this is a nice touch, something that WWE doesn't do too often on their main roster shows, is they give a reason. They don't give a reason for a camera being in a room, whereas right here it was an interviewer trying to interview Bully Ray. He ignores the interview because the Briscoes are arguing in the background. Bully Ray goes up to the Briscoes. Mark is blaming Jay for worrying too much about the boys during that match from Best in the World. Jay Briscoe blames Mark for taking the pin in the match. Bully says, "We win together and we lose together." So looks like there could be some dissension between the Briscoes and Bully Ray, but Bully Ray kind of playing the part of coach and saying, hey, I could point the finger at both of you guys. The reason we lost is because we weren't together as a team. Then it was Mandy Leone saying that in 2 weeks on Ring of Honor TV, it's going to be a all-women's Women of Honor show. Then Silas Young, the ultimate heel, of Ring of Honor, comes in the room and he's all like,
Women? No one cares about women's wrestling, man.
He cuts a promo on Jay Lethal saying Jay Lethal has now missed 22 days. He makes her kind of hold a sign, and then after he leaves, she's like, yeah, people do care about women's wrestling. So I thought it was kind of strange that Mandy kind of kowtowed to Silas Young coming in and making her hold that silly OSHA sign, but then she kind of gets a little bit, gets the last word in after he leaves, so ended up being kind of okay in the end. The Tempura Boys took on Cheeseburger and Joey Dadiego. Cheeseburger just recently broke up with Will Ferrara. Cheeseburger does get the win here in the tag match with his Shote Palm Strike that was taught to him by Jushin Thunder Liger. After the match, some Cheeseburger fanatics, a couple of ladies, come across the barrier and accost Cheeseburger. Finally, security takes the fangirls away from Cheeseburger, but then Will Ferrara, disguised as one of the security members, attacks Cheeseburger. So we'll get an upcoming singles match, certainly at some point, between Cheeseburger and his former tag team partner, Will Ferrara. The Young Bucks and Hangman Page in the main event took on the Briscoes and Bully Ray. It was another crazy Young Bucks style match. It was the Young Bucks and Hangman Page getting the win with Marty Scurll interference leading to the victory. Afterwards, Mark and Jay are taking out security members at ringside. They are very upset. So a lot of Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe being upset. Again, it was Jay Briscoe taking a rare pinfall loss here after the heel interference. This was, of course, the heel interference comes when Bully Ray splashes the ref by mistake. They hit the 3D. A new ref comes in to count the 3 count, but the Bucks pull the ref out. Then Scurll comes and hits Jay Briscoe with the umbrella, leading to Jay taking the pin, and the Young Bucks and Hangman Page getting the win. And like I said, Mark and Jay are very upset after the match. Jay has taken another loss, so this 6-man tag team of the Briscoes and Bully Ray falling apart rather quickly. All right, I want to talk this Rev Pro show, the British J Cup 2017. So this was an 8-man tournament, and you had 4 singles matches, and so the winner of those 4 matches went on to a 4-way elimination match at the end of the show to crown the British J Cup champion. So a fun show. First match, Tiger Mask from New Japan taking on Marty Scurll of the Bullet Club. A fun little match here. Marty Scurll does dominate and get the win with the mousetrap roll-up. So Scurll kind of debuting a new finisher a little bit, not using the chicken wing here, using the mousetrap roll-up to get the win. Tiger does get a near fall with the Tiger Driver, but Scurll dominates and gets the win. Second match, Josh Bodom, former Rev Pro Cruiserweight champion, taking on Jushin Thunder Liger. Jushin Thunder Liger got the win with the Brain Buster after a Liger bomb for a near fall. This was a very quick match. Bodom tries a quick start to catch Liger off guard, but Jushin Thunder Liger makes a comeback and gets the win. Then a 4-star match, and what is probably going to be one of the last times, if not the last time, we will see these two face off. New Japan's Kushida, current Ring of Honor television champion and IWGP Junior Heavyweight champion, taking on one of my favorites, Kyle O'Reilly. Of course, the heavy rumors and some spoilers out there that Kyle O'Reilly soon to be showing up in the WWE. So this probably the last for these two meeting, at least for quite some time here, and a very fun, great match. Great early mat wrestling. I love the style of these two guys with the mixing in the mat wrestling, going to the strikes and the submissions late in the match. Just really great stuff. I just love what both of these guys bring to the table in their styles, and a great matchup between these two. Like I said, early great mat wrestling. Kushida goes after the arm. O'Reilly counters with kicks, counters Kushida's cartwheel drop kick spot into a leg hold. They do the spot outside the ring with chairs where Kushida leaps off of one chair and hits a drop kick onto O'Reilly, who's sitting in another chair. O'Reilly counters the top rope moonsault into an arm triangle, an awesome counter. He goes back to the leg, back and forth kicks. Of course, since O'Reilly's working the leg, he's kicking the leg. Kushida is kicking O'Reilly's arm. O'Reilly hits his axe and smash. Kushida hits a Pele kick. Kyle O'Reilly hits the rebound clothesline. Kushida hits the baseball punch, but in the end, it was Kushida getting the win with Back to the Future, and Kyle O'Reilly doing the honors on his way out and on his way into WWE. A great match. Then it was Taguchi versus Will Ospreay. Ryusuke Taguchi, of course, part of the Taguchi Japan.
We are Taguchi Japan.
Ospreay, of course, being part of the Chaos faction in New Japan. This was just a fun match, 3 stars. Taguchi does this spot where he tries to confuse his opponent by running back and forth and going crazy. This time, Will Ospreay counters it. He keeps Taguchi running until he's all blown up, and then his opponent, Will Ospreay, decides to revive Taguchi by getting him a Red Bull. He makes him run again. He gasses him out again. He exposes the funky weapon. His ass is hanging out, but then Taguchi hits a sunset dive, and his ass is all in Ospreay's face. Then he runs around and celebrates with the fans with his ass hanging out, but it was Will Ospreay getting the win with the Revolution kick and the Os Cutter combo. It did get more serious late into the match with the near falls, of course, and everything there. Then we had some mid-card stuff, nothing too notable here. And then we had a really great match, Matt Riddle versus Tomohiro Ishii, not part of the tournament per se, but just a fun matchup between two guys on the show. 3.5 stars, a crazy chop exchange to start the match. They exchange German suplexes. Riddle takes over with knee strikes, awesome back and forth. Riddle looks like the weaker striker of the two, but nevertheless, Riddle hits a tombstone slam for a near fall late in the match. Then he hits a penalty kick and a fisherman's buster for a near fall. But it is Tomohiro Ishii getting the win finally with the brain buster. Now, I noted here, the reason why I wanted to talk about Rev Pro before I got into the G1 Climax discussion is Tomohiro Ishii, got the win here. Awesome match. A couple of weeks or a week before, the G1 special in the United States had those 3 matches in the tournament into the finals with Kenny Omega. So will these matches, kayfabe or real life, affect Tomohiro Ishii's performance in the G1 Climax? So a very interesting story to follow there with Ishii. and having these awesome, very competitive, hard-hitting matches going into the G1 Climax. Then it was the finals for the British J Cup, the 4-way elimination match. Before the match, Marty Jones comes out and introduces the J Cup trophy, so nice touch there. Marty Scurll versus Jushin Thunder Liger versus Kushida versus Ospreay. Early accidental ref bump leads to this very interesting and fun umbrella spot with Marty Scurll. Scurll takes out Liger with the umbrella, then tosses the umbrella to Will Ospreay. This fools Kushida. Kushida then thinks Ospreay took out Liger with the umbrella. So Kushida teams up with Marty Scurll to take out and double team on Will Ospreay. So a fun, unique spot there. Scurll then eliminates Kushida later with the mousetrap after Ospreay hits his Revolution Kick and Oscutter combo on Kushida. So essentially Ospreay doing the dirty work and Scurll getting the sneaking in and getting the victory and eliminating Kushida. So down to Scurll, Ospreay and Jushin Thunder Liger. Scurll avoids a big dive from Ospreay and pulls Liger into the way. So they do a good job of kind of keeping Liger taken out at ringside. And then Ospreay and Scurll have a spectacular back and forth. Every time Liger gets up on the outside, Scurll like super kicks him from the apron, just taking him out. Ospreay misses a big Rainmaker. Then Scurll hits a Crossroads for a near fall. So Ospreay paying homage to his Chaos stablemate, the leader of Chaos, Kazuchika Okada, and Scurll paying homage to one of the leaders or potential, the back and forth, the battle of leadership between Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega. Scurll paying homage to Cody Rhodes, of course, with the Crossroads and getting a near fall. Then Scurll eliminates Ospreay with the mousetrap after a second ref bump, and Ospreay inadvertently hits Jushin Thunder Liger with the umbrella. So then it came down to Jushin Thunder Liger and Marty Scurll. Jushin Thunder Liger kicks out of the mousetrap after the finger breaker and after dominating for a little bit there. But in the end, it was Jushin Thunder Liger winning with the Liger bomb and the brain buster. So a fun, feel-good story for Jushin Thunder Liger. A lot of people had high expectations for him in the Best of the Super Juniors, this being his last Best of the Super Juniors here. So Revolution Pro getting in on the fun and having Jushin Thunder Liger go all the way and putting that credible, legendary Jushin Thunder Liger name on their British J Cup. They can say now and forever that one of the winners of the British J Cup was Jushin Thunder Liger. So a fun show from Revolution Pro. Check it out if you can. Let's talk New Japan.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
It's G1 Climax season, and we are going to be talking about the sexiest tournament of the year.
G1 Climax.
So yeah, we're going to talk about night one. A lot of people's predictions coming true, some others not. We talked about my predictions and my other two podcast mates from the Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. We went over our predictions, how we did prediction-wise on that show today. I'm not going to talk too much about how predictions did and whatnot here on this show because obviously we went into that extensively on the other podcast. But I do want to talk about the undercard here and the matches themselves and preview the next 5 nights of the G1 Climax. There's a show on the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, 23rd. They take the 24th off, but then another show on Tuesday the 25th. So by the time I do another Strong Honor podcast, either Tuesday or Wednesday next week, we're going to have at least 5 shows to talk about. So by that time, we're going to have an idea of who's gaining some momentum, getting some points, because we'll have a couple more A block shows to talk about and 3 B block shows. We'll see who is gaining momentum and who maybe needs to hit the gas and start to getting some momentum. So we'll really have a lot to talk about next week. But let's talk night one. Opening match. Again, these undercard matches on these G1 Climax shows are going to feature. So night one was an A block show. All the A block guys had a match. So on the undercard, you got your B block guys in tag team matches previewing the upcoming matches for the B block. So it was Michael Elgin, Juice Robinson, and David Finlay taking on Jushin Thunder Liger, Satoshi Kojima, and Hiroyoshi Tenzan. It was Kojima getting the win with the lariat over David Finlay. This, of course, is a preview for Juice and Kojima. They're going to be having their first match very soon here on the 20th. So even by the time you hear this, that match may have already taken place. Second match, Kenny Omega, Tama Tonga, and Chase Owens teaming up against the Suzuki Gun guys, Minoru Suzuki, Tai Chi, and El Desperado. On the 20th again, Kenny Omega versus Minoru Suzuki. Very much looking forward to that one. Omega kind of calling out the Never Openweight Championship after his IWGP United States Champion Tournament win. So very interesting here. Could Suzuki upset the first ever United States Championship winner? Or will Omega stay strong and get a win over the very tough Suzuki? It was Suzuki getting the win over Chase Owens here with the Gotch pile driver in this match. Then a very unique matchup, Los Ingobernables versus Los Ingobernables. Hiromu Takahashi teams up with Evil against Bushi and Sanada. This is because, of course, on the 20th, Sanada versus Evil. So a very interesting matchup here. It was Evil getting the win over Bushi with his very unique face lock submission. I want to get the name. Hopefully I start learning the names of some of these moves I don't know the names of yet. And with more and more English commentary, I'm sure I'll have a name for that move as we go along the tournament here. But yeah, very cool, interesting matchup there. And then also another faction versus their own faction matchup here. Chaos versus Chaos. Okada teamed up with who else? Of course, Gato. And then Jado teamed up with Toru Yano. Toru Yano, very famous for getting cheap wins with chair shots and ball shots, removing the turnbuckle pad. So by any means necessary, and in past G1 Climaxes, he has definitely played spoiler. Now, I know Taco from Best Pro Wrestling Podcast, we talked about our predictions, he actually has Yano getting a win over Okada in the G1 Climax via his bullshit tactics. I honestly don't think Okada is going to lose to Yano, but it's certainly a possibility with the way that they have booked Yano in the past. It was Yano getting the win here over Gato with a low blow, so you never know. Okay, now into the A block matchups.
A block.
First one was Yuji Nagata taking on Yoshi-Hashi. I gave this match 3 stars. Now, I give these matches star ratings just based on my own opinion. That's what star ratings come down to for me. And for me, I don't know how people view like the Observer star ratings or whatever, but for me, in my opinion, anything 3 is a good match. 3 stars is kind of I don't want to say average, but it's a good match. 4 stars is a great match. 5 stars, in my opinion, just means it's a must-watch match. Go out of your way to see it. Pay money to see a 5-star match. 2 stars is not necessarily a bad match, but it's not necessarily good or interesting. Certainly 2 would mean below average. 1 star I would classify as skippable, but although if I classify something as skippable, I'm not talking about a star rating. I'm not saying that was a 1-star match because who cares? I just say it was a skippable match. So, like I said, Nagata versus Yoshi-Hashi, a good match. 3 stars. Nagata dominates early with strikes, slaps, and kicks. Nagata escapes the butterfly lock from Yoshi-Hashi, one of his submission maneuvers. Hashi escapes the Nagata arm breaker where he rolls his eyes back into his head, but then hits his headhunter clothesline for a near fall. Hashi does. And then it was Yoshi-Hashi winning with karma. Mentioned this on Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm not the biggest fan of Yoshi-Hashi. I don't like the way his offense looks. It just looks weak to me. It doesn't look like he's hurting a guy. So that's just my opinion. Some guys like the loose explosion of Yoshi-Hashi. Then Bad Luck Fale beat Togi Makabe. He counters the King Kong knee into the grenade, to get the win. Then 3.5 stars, Hirooki Goto, former Never Openweight champion, taking on Tomohiro Ishii. Again, Tomohiro Ishii coming off the United States Championship tournament, coming off the British J Cup victory over Matt Riddle. Here he does lose. Again, another match here featuring Chaos versus Chaos. A fast start. They're shoulder tackling each other, attempting strikes. Ishii hits a second rope superplex after a top rope headbutt battle. Goto wins a fighting spirit clotheslines battle. That's where the guys just run into each other hard, hitting clotheslines and refusing to go down for one another. But finally, Goto knocks down Ishii, hits the jackknife powerbomb for a near fall. More fighting spirit clotheslines, a double down, hard strikes back and forth. Ishii looks dominant in the strike battle. Unprotected headbutt in the match from Ishii. Yikes. We don't need to be doing unprotected headbutts. I mean, come on. Katsuyori Shibata is done. His career is over. His quality of life is threatened here. He's still recovering from the damage that he has done. Stop it with the unprotected headbutt shots. You can do worked headbutts that look great, that are just as effective in the match. I'm sorry, I'm done ranting now. They do better worked headbutts later in the match. Ishii kicks out on one late. I love that. I love this thing from Ishii. It's the ultimate in fighting spirit. They're having this hard-fought battle, these near falls, this back and forth, the strikes, and then right as they're going into the finish, Ishii is like, fuck you. He kicks out on one, but then Goto comes back, hits the GTR, and gets the win. Then Hiroshi Tanahashi, current IWGP Intercontinental Champion, taking on Suzuki Gun member Zack Sabre Jr. Very, very good match. 4 stars in my opinion. This match is all about the Hiroshi Tanahashi biceps injury. He's got it wrapped up. He's got the tension sleeve on there. Early in the match, I love the touch that where Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi are sizing each other up, getting ready to hook up, doing some hand fighting a little bit, but Tanahashi keeps switching his stance in order to keep the injured arm away from Zack Sabre Jr. And Zack Sabre, being the type of wrestler that's going to take what you give him, he starts working on Tanahashi's legs. And so working on the legs frees up Tanahashi's arm, or allows Zack Sabre to gain access to the arm, and that's when Sabre Jr. goes to work on the arm. So it's all about Sabre getting the arm, going after the arm, how Tanahashi escapes. Tanahashi, he goes for the big high fly flow late in the match. Sabre Jr. Counters it and gets the very intense arm submission for the win. Yes, Tanahashi gave up, submitted. He couldn't tap out because his arms were tied up. He had to give the verbal nodding submission to Red Shoes. Zack Sabre Jr. with, in my opinion, a bit of an upset here, but a very, very good match. Then, finally, when you think you can't top it, here comes the main event. Kota Ibushi versus Tetsuya Naito. What a great match. In my opinion, 5 stars. Must see. Night 1, it was a great show. Free on NJPWWorld.com, so you don't even have to pay for this show. Check it out for free. Naito likes to do the thing where he goes to lock up with his opponent, but then moves at the last second and then doesn't lock up. He calls it tranquilo. He wants to just take it easy, relax. Of course, this is a huge match, G1 Climax opening night, so he comes out in the full suit, and the bigger the match, the bigger the stakes, the longer it takes him to take off the suit. But this one, Naito locks up right away with Kota Ibushi. He suckers him in. They do the clean break spot on the rope, but then he spits in his face. This, of course, makes Ibushi very emotional. He's a very emotional wrestler, and so that fires him up, and then he ends up outside the ring. Tetsuya Naito threatens to hit the big dive, then, of course, rolls and lays down in the ring, and it's very tranquilo once again. This continues to fire up Ibushi. Then now he gets back in the ring. Now they're going for another lockup, and now Naito does the thing where he refuses to lock up. Well, this pisses off Ibushi again, and he's like, well, fuck this, and he just hits him from behind and just starts going off on him. So I love the beginning of the match there. Naito hits a big neck breaker on the apron, and that starts the story of the match of Naito going after the upper shoulders and neck of Ibushi to soften him up for the Destino. Nice drop kick from Ibushi after Naito spits on him. The Golden Triangle moonsault moonsault on the floor. I forgot to mention earlier in the match, Ibushi does this really cool double stomp after a baseball slide attempt from Naito after a crazy back and forth rope exchange where they're just running, going crazy back and forth. Ibushi avoids the corner leg sweep spot from Naito, but takes a slingshot drop kick to the upper back after a quick exchange on the apron. So again, Naito going after the upper back and neck of Ibushi. Ibushi continues to get so upset, and he gets so upset he just keeps kicking Naito. He's kicking him and kicking him and kicking him. He's up against the rope. The ref is demanding that he break, but he's pissed off. Fuck this guy. He kicks him and kicks him and kicks him some more until Naito is just laying on the ground. His eyes wide open. He's in shock. He's just had his ass kicked. But then Naito hits this top rope reverse Rana for a near fall, an insane move. Then Ibushi counters a Destino and throws Naito like a dart into the turnbuckle. Insane. Ibushi hits this crazy hangman German suplex from the apron into the ring for a near fall, and then does a backflip kick to Naito sitting on the top rope. Then the finish of this match. Fucking insane. I said it on Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. I don't often pop for wrestling matches sitting on my own couch. This match made me pop 3 fucking times. Ibushi hits a pile driver from the second rope. Yes, a pile driver for a near fall. Naito kicks out. I go crazy. Then Naito hits a Destino. I'm thinking, that's it. It's over. He hit the fucking Destino. Fucking Ibushi kicks out of the Destino. Naito goes right back to it, hits the second Destino for the pin. A great match. Naito looking strong going into this. Kota Ibushi, despite the loss, looks amazing in this match. So a perfect example of a great match can make a guy look great even though he loses here. So both guys, in my opinion, having strong momentum going forward in the tournament, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes going forward from here. We talked predictions on Best Pro Wrestling Podcast, but I'm kind of regretting my prediction of Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi in the finals, not because of night one results here. I was even thinking over the week leading into the G1 after I had made my official prediction that, it's really probably going to be Naito, because Naito versus Okada is a great story, and you can tell the story of Ibushi versus Omega at the Tokyo Dome for the United States Championship, something like that. So I'm really thinking it's going to be Naito winning this thing, despite my prediction of it going down to Omega and Ibushi, and eventually Omega winning it 2 years in a row, which is a very bold prediction if you think about it, with Omega being the first Westerner to ever win the G1 Climax. Him doing it two years in a row would be just insane, unprecedented. So anyway, let's preview the next 5 shows that we're going to have between now and the next time you hear me podcasting for Strong Honor. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the matches, of course, but I'm just going to talk about some highlighted ones to look out for. Of course, we kind of talked about some of these already, but July 20th, by the time you hear this might already be available to watch. So, again, Sanada versus Evil, 2 Los Ingobernables guys.
Los Ingobernables!
I should mention, too, after Naito beat Ibushi, of course, it was the main event of the show, and if you win the main event, you get to cut a promo. And, of course, it's in Japanese. He's saying some Spanish stuff, but he's such a great character to watch. Even if you don't understand the words coming out of his mouth, he's just such a unique guy to watch. And so he cuts the promo. All the other guys from LIJ are coming out with him, and that, what I just played, of course, is his big tagline at the end. He says, Sanada, Evil, Bushi, Hiromu, everybody in Los Ingobernables. Then he does the thing that I just played, and the place goes crazy, and streamers go flying. So yeah, a lot of fun anytime Naito wins a main event. Also from July 20th, getting back to the preview now, like I said earlier, Kenny Omega versus Minoru Suzuki of Suzuki Gun should be a very good matchup for the reasons I talked about earlier. So again, July 20th, a B block day. Next day, July 21st, back to the A block.
A block.
Togi Makabe taking on Tomohiro Ishii. Both of these guys, Makabe especially, towards the later side of his career here, but these guys had some really awesome battles a couple of years ago for the Never Openweight title. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do here in the tournament, especially with Ishii coming off that loss to Goto. And again, the story of Ishii having all of those grueling matches going into the tournament. Also from the 21st, Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr., a very good match. Also notable on the undercard here, we have a Bullet Club versus Bullet Club match. Yujiro Takahashi teaming up with Kenny Omega versus Chase Owens and Tama Tonga. That is, of course, because Omega and Tama Tonga will go against each other on the 22nd. So a couple other notable matches from that show. This one's a B-Block show.
B-Block!
Okada taking on Michael Elgin. Michael Elgin, I think, is one of the few guys out there that could possibly get an upset victory. I don't even necessarily call it an upset, but he is definitely a potential guy to get a win over Okada. With Okada being booked so strong this year, the potential guys to get wins over Okada are very few. But I think Michael Elgin is a guy that could potentially do that. Then the main event of this July 22nd show, Sonata from Los Ingobernables taking on Minoru Suzuki. So a fun matchup there. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Sonata does this year in the tournament. It'd be nice to see him get a win here and possibly face Suzuki for the Never Openweight title at some point down the line. Moving on to the Sunday A-Block show.
A-Block!
Couple of notables from this one. Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Yuji Nagata. Again, the story with Tanahashi and the arm. And Yuji Nagata, this being his last G1 Climax, he lost opening night to Yoshihashi. I wanted to see him get the win there. So how does Nagata do? So I should mention on the 21st, Nagata fights Goto, so that's probably going to be a loss. If Nagata loses to Yoshihashi, I got to imagine he's losing to Hiroki Goto. But Tanahashi with this arm situation and Nagata with those fierce kicks, and he has that crazy arm submission that he does too. So Nagata, a potential upset over Tanahashi here, current IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Also from the 23rd, Kota Ibushi taking on Tomohiro Ishii. Should be a very good matchup. Finally, the 25th now, next Tuesday, Kazuchika Okada versus Sonata in the main event. Should be very good. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing how Sonata does in the tournament. I don't think Sonata gets a win here over the IWGP champion, but I'm looking forward to a potential very good matchup between those two. So those are just some highlights of some things to look forward to over the next week in the G1 Climax. We got a lot to talk about on next week's show, and like I said, we'll have a better idea of how things are looking, who's got momentum, who's got to make up for some losses on next week's show. So let's wrap it up with the Kojima tweet.
Now it's time for the Satoshi Kojima Tweet of the Week.
If you're a Twitter person, get on your Twitter box and follow Kojima, Cozy_Lariat. Press conference. A wonderful wrestler gathered. I will do my best. Aim for number 1. So follow the show at Strong Honor. Follow me at Tommy Stryker, spell Stryker with a Y. Make sure, if you want to check out me and my buddies Taco and Joe, not only talking New Japan, not only talking Ring of Honor, but we talk WWE, Raw, SmackDown. This week we talk Battleground predictions for Sunday. We usually talk some Lucha Underground, but we definitely talk NXT. So check out Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. Just look that up on your podcast gimmick or go to bestprowrestlingpodcast.com. Follow at The Fans Podcast. Check out all the other great shows right here on The Fans Podcast, Podcasting Network. For Tommy Stryker, I'm Tommy Stryker. This has been Strong Honor. Bye!
A bunch of grown men playing dress up.
A-Block! B-Block!
No one cares about women's wrestling, man.
How are you doing this evening, gentlemen?